I guess this is just about as pointed place as any to throw in my experience yesterday at the grocery store. The fun part was Benjamin had to borrow my car because the ABS light on his car came on Friday night, but he had to take the kids over to JBQ for ministry. So he was taking his church over to do that, so he borrowed my car. So he asked if I would drive his car and take it in for service. Well, I got into the car and turned it on, and there were no lights. All the lights went out. And so there were no ABS lights. And I thought, well, Christy said, well, why don't you drive around the block and see if the light comes back on? So I drive it around the block, and the light doesn't come back on. So I go back into the house. It's cold outside. And I go in the house, and I call Benjamin. I said, there's no lights on. He's like, well, you probably have to drive it a little further. Why don't you drive it over to the high school? And he said, then the light will come on, right? So, okay, fine. So I get in the car, and I'm driving to the high school. As I'm driving to the high school, the thought occurs to me that if I drive just a little bit farther, I can stop off at Safeway, and I can get Christy an apple fritter because she absolutely loves the apple fritters at Safeway. And I thought that would be a really nice thing to do. So I drive all the way to Safeway, and I park in the Safeway parking lot, and I walk into the store, and I go over to where the donuts are, and they don't have apple fritters. And I'm really kind of bummed out. There's no apple fritters. There's some big cinnamon rolls, but there are no apple fritters. But I'm thinking, well, I'm already here, right? It would be silly to go back home because she's going to ask me, where have you been? And I'm going to say, well, I went to Safeway to get apple fritters, but they didn't have them. But if I come home empty, she's going, well, then why don't you just... So I figured I better buy some donuts. So I buy 2 donuts, right? And I put them in the bag. And I'm walking toward the front. There's actually a spiritual point to all of this. I think. I'll get there. I'll find one. And so I'm walking to the front. And you know how the cash register, they have the 15 or less items, right? And there's a lady in that line. She's the only one there. And she's in the 15 or less line, and she's buying everything for Thanksgiving. Now, folks, I don't know about you, but I don't think it's possible to be 15 items or less and buying food for Thanksgiving. But she's mostly through, so I put my little bag of 2 donuts down on the little conveyor belt, and it slides to the front, and then I pick it up and I move it back because she still hasn't moved, and it slides back to the front. And she stops to ask the guy, how much was the turkey? Well, now I'm looking at the screen, right? It says $22.16. I can see it. You could see it, right? I just want to go home. Right? There's 2 donuts in here that have my name on them, right? And I'm thinking, come on, lady, would you, who cares what the price, you bought the turkey, it's not like you're going to give it back, right? But she's insisting that the guy tell her, she apparently had a coupon, I don't know. She was insisting, what's the price of the turkey? And I'm standing there. Yeah, I was about to tell her that. She's at Safeway, 49 cents a pound. Come on, did you see the ad? And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, okay, don't get frustrated. Don't get mad. Don't start tapping your foot and doing one of these, right? I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm a Christian. I need to think happy thoughts. I need to go to my happy place. Because she keeps, I'm standing there. And all of a sudden, she turns to me and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting. And she turns to me and she sees me there with my one little bag of donuts. And she turns to the clerk and she says, put his bag on my bill. And I said, what? They're just 2 donuts. She's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Right? I'm thinking I should have got 4. I should have got 4. I'm just being honest, folks. That was my thought. My first thought was I should have got 4. So she paid for my donuts. Then she turns to me. Here's the spiritual point. I knew there was one here. I knew there was one in this story. She turns to me and she says, and happy holidays. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I wrote a book on Christmas. There's a whole chapter in there about not saying happy holidays. Because we're not there celebrating all the holidays in December. We're celebrating one particular holiday when Jesus came to this earth, when God sent a Savior. I could preach that, but I won't. So I turned to her and I said, no. I said, we're not trying to celebrate just one, just all the holidays. We're trying to celebrate just one. And I said, there's really no point in saying happy holidays to avoid offending people who don't even care about Christmas. I mean, that's kind of silly, right? You offend the people that actually care about Christmas, and you're worried about offending people that don't care. She's like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Merry Christmas. And then the clerk who's hearing this whole conversation, he goes, well, Merry Christmas to everybody. And I bought home donuts to Christy. Free. Should have got 4.